Hello guys, welcome to this channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Top Gun. This is a movie that I grew up with, hadn't seen it in quite a while, and I watched it for the first time in a long time yesterday. And honestly, I wanted to give you my thoughts right away. I still wanted to wait a day. I'm glad I did because 2 trailers dropped that I had to react to, so it made perfect timing. So without further ado, let's get into it. I don't know what this movie's about. This movie's about this pilot named, well, Pete Mitchell, but his code or his fly name is Maverick, and his best friend, his name is Goo, partner Goose. So I'll call Maverick and Goose. That makes everything a little bit easier. And then they are Navy pilots, and then Goose is obviously this. So Maverick is this sort of very insecure and dangerous pilot. But he's also the best one. So they send him off to the school. This essentially flight school to make them the best ones even better. The school's called Top Gun, where Maverick is trying to become the best, and there's a lot of sort of difficulties in the process of trying to become the best. Next up, you have the good, and overall, I think what this movie does really well. I think the overall character of Maverick, he's a lot of fun. They've done a bunch of ripoffs, for example, James Kirk from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, and it just doesn't work. So overall, I think Maverick makes for a very fun character. Tom Cruise kind of steals the show. He's just so much fun in the role, and yeah. And I think we kind of forget that this movie has a great side cast. I mean, everyone also remembers Val Kilmer, but Tom Cruise is just the lead star. You have actors like Anthony Edwards, you have the guy from Back to the Future, you have a bunch of other familiar faces, I guess. What's it called? I forget who plays Viper. I can't remember his name. I don't know. This movie does have a great cast overall, but everyone remembers Tom Cruise, which that's fair. And because he just steals the show because he's just so much fun as Maverick. And honestly, you just are always enjoy to see this character, and you want him to go into character arc, and he does, and I think it all works. I think all the other characters are good. I think Iceman sort of works as sort of an antagonist at times, but not being too antagonistic. That works. I think Val Kilmer does a pretty good job there. And honestly, I just don't see Iceman as Batman. That might just be me. If you think that makes sense, fair enough. But he's a much more loud, commanding force on this movie, and I think it works. And overall, I think Val Kilmer does a great job in that role. I think everyone's great in this movie. I think that there's so much style sort of spread in there. You have Tony Scott, who's just sort of exploring the idea of having this like Navy pilots and seeing this in action. Like, no one really remembers this movie for its special effects, but they are pretty great for the most part. And there's nothing really wrong. And honestly, I heard this movie had a very troubled production. They made a damn good movie. And overall, I think this movie's pretty fantastic. All the flight sequences are all great. I heard that's all the footage they had, so that's kind of interesting. It's not what that... I mean, they're all pretty awesome for the most part. And when you see Maverick training in Top Gun, those are all great. For the most part, all of the sequences and the character of Maverick and Goose, I think them together, they're just so much fun to see on screen, and they actually feel like they're best friends. And I think that's just because their chemistry is just great. It's kind of like, I bet, you know what I bet? I don't know if this is true or not, but it probably isn't. But I feel like I get a sort of sense from Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. Do kind of remind me a little bit of Maverick and Goose. I bet the director sort of took some notice from that and put it into their movie. Just made a comedy, not a drama, I guess. I don't know if I would really call Top Gun a drama. I'm not sure. So overall, I think all of the Navy sets are all pretty cool for the most part. You have some pretty... The filming is great. Everything in general just works so well. I think all of the characters are really good. Even the actors are really good at playing them. And overall, just makes for an awesome film. And this one's one of those movies that's endlessly rewatchable. It's not too long. It's not too short. I think it's the perfect length. Maybe it's a little bit short, but whatever. That's not an issue. It's an 80s movie, so not many 80s movies were that long. And I think this is a great 80s movie because even though I don't think it's aged as well as some other of the 80s classics, I don't think it's aged as well as Back in the Future. You might think if you list some certain details of that movie, you might not think it ages well, which fair. But honestly, it just works on so many levels. Incest somehow ages well. That's interesting. What else? Back to the Future. And then there's a lot of those 80s action movies like Die Hard, Aliens, Predator, Lethal Weapon. A lot of those aged pretty well. This one, I don't know if, this one's kind of like Rocky 4, where I don't know if it's aged quite as well. Because, like, there's a bunch of, like, very 80s elements. Like, when you go from, like, serious, good score. I mean, the score is also really good here. I don't know who did it, but he did a great job. You have the sort of dramatic music playing at the beginning. And then it goes right into Danger Zone. Or I think that's its one. And then it just cuts right into it. No warning. It just cuts, and like it's a little odd. Like when you're watching it, like you're like, and then you just start doing this. I guess. I mean, I'm a rock and metal kind of guy, so I don't really have an issue with that. I just enjoy that, but at the same time, it makes for a bit of an odd choice. I don't know. I'll move on next. The main thing I have to mix is I think the choice of what they did with the villain. There's not really much of a villain. At the same time, you don't really care about the villain, so it doesn't really matter. But like, you don't really even know who the villain is. Like, they're just some bogeys that apparently are there, or MIGs that end up being there for the fun of it. It doesn't really bother you, but when you think about it, it does. I mean. But at the same time, when you're watching the movie, you just don't really care about it. When you think back to it, you do have some interesting thoughts. At least I do. I don't know. Now you have the bad, and start at the bad. I think the main thing that I'm just not... And this is not something I really picked up on until this watch, but it does tonal shift quite a bit. First one is that at the opening... It's just the opening scene, like when it cuts from dramatic music to great rock music, which don't really have a problem with that because I'm a rock and metal kind of guy, so I enjoy that. But at the same time, it's a little odd. Second, and then another one, even like 5 minutes later, you had this whole part where. But overall, I still think this is a great movie, and I think everything about it basically works. I don't really have any big issues. This one, I can't decide if it really hurts the movie, but it makes for a little bit odd viewing, in my opinion. For this movie's final score, it's gonna get 9.6 out of 10. I still really freaking enjoy this movie. It's just, I think it's awesome. It's very enjoyable. Tom Cruise is at his A game, even in some of his earlier stuff like this. And overall, I don't know, did he do his own stunts back in 86? I'm not sure. But overall, everything about this movie really works. It's endlessly rewatchable, very enjoyable. Characters are all great. The arcs that Maverick has to go through really works for me. And overall, all the supporting cast is great. Makes for a fantastic movie, and I give it a great score. Tell me what you think about this movie in the comments below. Tell me if you're very excited for Top Gun Maverick. I might see it this weekend. I'm not sure. Well, we'll see how time plays out, I guess. I might end up going to see it in another weekend. I hope I can see it this weekend. That would be awesome. But yeah, so tell me if you're excited for Top Gun Maverick. Let me know if you love this original film. Are you excited for Mission Impossible 7? I'm in a bit of a Tom Cruise sort of state of mood because literally I finished watching Top Gun that the same day the Mission Impossible 7 trailer comes out. So interesting, and I just did a reaction to that yesterday. You can go check that out. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.